All eyes on Albany this week. Some of the nation's top collegiate basketball teams descend upon the capital region, bringing with them stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, along with thousands of fans.
Plus, no more warnings after drivers rack up notices for illegally passing stop school buses. Niskayuna says fines are next.
CBS 6 News starts now.
Well, first tonight at 5, it may be the biggest weekend of events at Albany's MVP Arena for the entire year. The top women's college basketball teams are here, ready for games starting tomorrow afternoon.
Maybe for the whole decade, all right? Perhaps the biggest star making it to the Sweet 16 games, Caitlin Clark and her Iowa Hawkeyes. The NCAA Division I all-time leading scorer is on a plane right now, heading to Albany International Airport. She should be touching down really any minute now, and that's where we find CBS 6's Ashley Kusakaki today.
And Ashley, these games are drawing a lot of people to the capital region. Exciting times ahead, Ashley. Thank you. And there are still tickets available through Ticketmaster for games starting tomorrow. Resale tickets in pairs of 2, but you can find some Friday and Sunday tickets for as low as $30 a piece in some sections.
Yeah, you'll be up high, but it still sounds like a good deal getting you in to see Oregon State versus Notre Dame and South Carolina versus Indiana. South Carolina, the #1 team in the nation. If you want to get in to see Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes play, those resale tickets for Saturday shoot up past $180. And again, you get 2 tickets, meaning you'll be paying closer to $400, and those are probably for nosebleeds. There's a chance it's Iowa versus LSU on Monday. That would be a rematch of last year's championship game, meaning those tickets are already on the resale market for a very pretty penny. Friday and Sunday games are still your best deal right now. All right, the weather, always a good deal. Pretty important for folks heading down to MVP Arena this weekend, hoping for some nice weather because you don't want to hang outside for a while. And
that's
see what's going on.
Yeah, so let's send things over to Chief Meteorologist Steve LaPointe for a check of that forecast. Steve?
All right, Imani and Greg, I think the weekend is fine.
All right, Steve, thanks. In a new report, State Controller Thomas DiNapoli says the state needs to be more involved in addressing challenges for local emergency medical services.
Members of the United New York Ambulance Network agree, telling CBS 6 EMS is in crisis right now. They say reimbursement rates for ambulance services only cover 65% of the cost, causing some services to shut down completely. Those costs, along with workforce shortages, are forcing counties to fill those gaps. All this having a ripple effect on the healthcare industry and emergency room wait times. Now, the president of that union, Timothy Egan, says new legislation like opening up reimbursement for treatment in place would help.
If that ambulance is tied up in the emergency department, they can't respond to the next emergency that occurs, and that could be a real...
Now to a crisis in the classroom report. To ensure student safety, the state passed legislation in 2019 authorizing school districts to install safety cameras on school buses. This in an effort to catch drivers unlawfully passing those buses while they're stopped. CBS 6's JT Fetch joining us now in studio with more from a district whose efforts seem to be paying off. JT.
Well, Imani, last month, the Niskayuna Central...
Still to come, a local favorite is back open. We're live next at Jumpin' Jacks in Scotia, a springtime tradition for CBS 6's Craig Adams.
And the solar eclipse becomes key to the curriculum for some local students, from music to lessons. See how big a role it's playing. And coming up in sports, we'll look at some of the preparations on the hardwood at MVP Arena as teams practice for this weekend's Sweet 16 games. Excitement for fans also building in Albany. We'll take you there coming up. If there was ever a sure sign of spring in the capital region, it would have to be the opening of Jumpin' Jacks Drive-In in Scotia.
It's the 72nd season for this spring and summer staple that attracts people from all over our area to Scotia for the food that just seems to never go out of style. CBS 6's Craig Adams joining us now live at Jumpin' Jacks, where he has his hands full in the opening day experience. Hey, Craig.
Hey there, Imani. Again, they'll be back in another hour with more of the delicious food.
Yeah, if there's any food left after
bring
that.
some of the onion rings back.
He gets this detail every year. I'm not sure how he pulls it off, but he's a smart man, that's for sure.
All right, Craig, thank you. Well, the eclipse is getting closer by the day, and it will prove to be a real-life science lesson for a lot of students.
Yes, CBS 6's Sam Copeland visited Galway Central Schools this week, where the once-in-a-lifetime event is shaping many aspects of this school year.
Well, time is elevation snow at some point during that period as well.
All right, thank you very much, Steve. Sports coming up next. Here's a look at what's ahead at 5:30.
the impact of artificial intelligence on our democracy. I'm Christine Frizzell with new warnings straight ahead.
And the race to the White House likely down to two major candidates, but others still holding on despite minimal support. One Democrat hoping for primary victories hails from the Capital Region.
And now, CBS 6 Sports, sponsored by your local upstate Chevy dealers.
Hey everyone, let's talk sports. I'm Sam Israel, here for the big story we're following in sports tonight. March Madness women's games come to Albany for the Sweet 16. Not even game day yet, but excitement is in the air at MVP Arena as we all eagerly anticipate the arrival of Caitlin Clark. Now, in the meantime, teams like Oregon State, Notre Dame, and South Carolina are all in town. Today, the teams all practiced on the hardwood at MVP Arena. I got the chance to speak with some fans in downtown Albany who are all getting ready to soak it in. And of course, all of the spotlight from fans has been placed on Caitlin Clark, as many cannot wait to see her finally in action. The sounds of March Madness have filled the air at MVP Arena, with big names on teams across the country hitting the hardwood, from the undefeated South Carolina team to the Fighting Irish and Oregon State. But still, what all Albany fans have their eyes on is Caitlin Clark.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime situation we have here. Not every year these great players come down and see us.
From those who have lived in the area for the last 10 years,
yeah, it's really nice to see a lot of people come here,
to those driving through the Capital Region.
Seeing the energy of the game grow and all the people coming in, to Albany to witness just the growth of the game is wonderful.
And even to the 2021 Capital District Sportswoman of the Year, Nasaya Dix.
The energy Caitlin Clark brings, we didn't used to see that back in the day. Like, not a lot of players were like that. So the trash talking, the great shooting, and to back it up, that's amazing.
Because what players like Clark mean to other aspiring young female athletes is inspirational.
Caitlin Clark's one of the best shooters in the female college ball right now. So I think it's great that we get to see a shooter. It's exciting to watch.
Caitlin, you're amazing. You've done so much. You've been an inspiration for so many. Go out there and get them. You're awesome.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing. And yeah, you're an inspiration to a lot of people.
Yeah, lots of Caitlin Clark fans out there. Clark is expected to land in Albany this evening. And as I said before, excitement levels are through the roof. Guys.
That they are. Can't wait till Caitlin
Really
Clark gets here.
exciting.
Angel Reese is here.
Yeah.
So many big names.
And
so
we do
exciting.
have a crew at the airport as well, waiting for that arrival. So.
Yep. All right. Coming up next at 5:30 from the Capital Region to the campaign trail.
Yeah, still to come here at 5:30. He's running for president up against President Biden in Democratic primaries. Why underdogs like Jason Palmer stay in the race despite such slim odds.
CBS 6 News starts now.
First at 5:30, the biggest sports story of the year so far, March Madness making its way here to the Capital Region.
The Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team and star player Caitlin Clark are on a plane right now headed to Albany for Sweet 16 games.
Governor Kathy Hochul has signed a budget extender, meaning the state budget will be late once again this year. The fiscal year begins on April 1st. The governor extending the budget deadline to April 4th.
Drivers who illegally pass stop school buses in Niskayuna will no longer receive warnings and instead will get a fine. Artificial intelligence is being used to monitor and collect video. Nearly 260 drivers broke the law in the program's first month only for warnings. In-depth coverage on all of these stories online. Just head to CBS6Albany.com.
A Capital Region native is running for president. His name is Jason Palmer. He beat President Joe Biden in one Democratic primary contest earlier this month, securing 3 delegates in American Samoa.
With that in mind, Palmer says winning the Democratic nomination is like an ant trying to build a spaceship. But he wants to be an example of a different voice in what some call a tired process. CBS 6's Tom Eschen speaking with Palmer today about his message, but also asking if it's time to change the way democracy is done in the United States.
Democratic president.
And the next few months will bring us fully into the heat of the 2024 election campaign.
And this year will be like no other, with warnings that artificial intelligence could be a major threat, including the days just before Americans head to the polls in November. Here's our national correspondent, Christine Frizzell.
Donald Trump's attorney in the Georgia election case, Steve Sato, says the former president's statements about the 2020 election are core political speech and says as a result, Trump can't be prosecuted.
I don't think there's any question that statements, comments, speech, expressive conduct that deals with campaigning or elections has always been found to be at the zenith of protected speech.
Prosecutors at today's hearing on Trump's efforts to dismiss the indictment against him argued that's up to a jury to decide and say it's premature to consider free speech arguments. They say the defense is bringing up the argument to delay a trial.
In the end, no matter how much we hear about the, obviously the noble protections afforded by the First Amendment, all of this is an effort to get Your Honor not to look at the basic fact that this speech, this expression, all this activity is employed as part of a pattern of criminal conduct.
Leading in on the First Amendment will be an uphill battle. Previous First Amendment challenges by former Trump co-defendants Kenneth Chesebro and Sidney Powell for their attempts to overturn the 2020 election were unsuccessful. Both ultimately pleaded guilty in exchange for their testimony. The investigation into what caused a ship to crash into a Baltimore bridge is just getting started, but the process will not move quickly.
Natalie Brand has more details from Baltimore, Maryland.
New video. Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of cryptocurrency exchange FTX, receiving a 25-year prison sentence in his massive fraud case. He was convicted in November on fraud and conspiracy charges after FTX's collapse. The judge determined SBF could do something criminal in the future and that he posed a risk to others.
The prosecution was able to show multiple times where Sam had the opportunity to do the right thing, to come clean, and he chose not to do so.
Prosecutors say he cost customers and investors $10 billion in a quest to fuel his rise in the budding crypto industry. They recommended a 40 to 50-year sentence.
Well, next tonight, we take a look at a new bill meant to address a top concern about the border crisis.
Plus, a lack of funding and the challenge of getting a correct diagnosis. How one Capital Region woman is using her voice to speak for millions. And the cost of living is high enough these days, so what does it take to live comfortably? The numbers may shock you.
One of the top concerns about the massive influx of migrants at the southern border, the number of people on the terror watch list trying to get access to the country.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has more from Washington with a newly introduced legislative answer.
System, but most of us get a chilly rain.
Elevation snow. Stay up there in the mountains,
Yeah,
right? All right, coming up all new at 6 tonight here on CBS 6, getting behind the wheel of a big rig.
How students are getting an experience as close to the real thing as possible without ever actually hitting the road.
And no more warnings after drivers rack up notices for illegally passing stopped school buses. NISCUNA says fines are coming next.
And local emergency medical services hit with serious financial challenges and staffing shortages, why one top watchdog says the state needs to do more to help.
This month is Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month, and one woman from the Capital Region is sharing her story to help others.
CBS 6's Lara Bryn spoke with her about her efforts. Becky hosts. The number of people applying for unemployment benefits dipping slightly.
According to the U.S. Labor Department, claims fell by 2,000 last week, bringing the total number to 210,000. The 4-week average of claims decreased to just 211,000. Overall, 1.8 million people received unemployment benefits the week ending March 16th.
The cost of living has spiked in recent years, but living isn't the same as living comfortably. Being able to afford basic pleasures and not living paycheck to paycheck, that of course requires more money. According to a study by smartasset.com, the average salary needed to live comfortably in a major U.S. city is $96,500 for one person and roughly $235,000 for a family of 4.
That's a lot of money.
It is, yeah. All right, well, still to come tonight, all eyes on Albany this week. Some of the nation's top college basketball teams and players making their way to the Capital Region.
Pretty exciting. It includes Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Stay with us for some analysis from someone who has watched Clark's meteoric rise very closely.